I just bought this 2013 Renault Twingo for just £450 to sell it for £2,000 because I want to make enough money to turn my abandoned diesel BMW into an M3 killer. And to find this car, I jumped on the SWOOPA app and it showed me this Renault Twingo and came up saying the price was an absolute steal and it had zero problems. So I arranged to go see it, and then the next day got a lift off Ryan to go and see the car. Are you excited to see the Twingo?
Yeah man, it looks like a good deal.
And the car looked and drove perfectly, so I drove it home. Right then, so we got the car home, booked it in for an MOT, and I thought, oh, I'll take it out for a quick drive, and it is revving itself. Have a look at this. It is revving itself. So I'm gonna have to fix that before it gets MOT'd. And because this car has an electronic throttle valve, that's the first thing that I wanted to check. So after removing the airbox, I just needed to unplug the wire and unbolt the 4 bolts holding it on. And all that I can tell is when I press in the butterfly valve, it's very stiff and it's not really returning to its place very quickly. But the other thing that's slightly worrying, these markings usually come on parts from a breaker's yard, so it's likely either it's been replaced before and it's gone again, or it's been replaced and it's not the problem. But I've just got a brand new one for 50 quid including postage, so hopefully this fixes the problem and I can get the car MOT'd. But if this doesn't work, I've just wasted 50 quid. And I'm worried about this because the car didn't come up with any codes telling me what was wrong, so I'm kind of guessing with this. But with it all bolted back in, I can fit the airbox again, tighten up the Jubilee clamps, and fingers crossed this fixes this brand new issue. That did not take long at all, literally like 5 minutes, but I have got my fingers crossed that this has fixed the issue, because if it hasn't, that's 50 quid gone and I don't know what the problem is, so fingers crossed. Yes! Yes! Perfect, that worked. I can send this car to get it MOT'd, which if you don't know is a yearly test a mechanic does on your car to make sure it's safe, and without a pass you can't drive it, so all I can do is keep my fingers crossed to get a pass. Right then, I just got the car back from the MOT garage and it's failed on these things here. So I'm hoping for this imbalance thing I can just strip the front calipers, rebuild them, re-grease them up and tidy them up, because it has had new brakes recently and the discs look fine to me, but on the rear it failed on rusty brake lines. So I've been out and I've got some 3/16 brake line, which is a mix of copper and nickel, and I'm gonna have a go at making brake lines myself. Now on this car we probably could get away with sanding the brake lines down and recoating them, but seeing as though I'm selling the car, I don't want any risks for the new owners, so we're going to make some brand new lines, and to do that we need to jack the car up and have a look how bad it is. But before I tackle these brake lines, people are always asking in the comments, how do I get my cars so cheap? Well, I've flipped well over 50 cars and I'm making more money now than ever since I started using the SWOOPA app, because it gives me a notification as soon as a bargain car is listed on Facebook, Gumtree, eBay or Auto Trader, and it's got this genius price ranking system which tells you how good of a bargain it is based on the year, the make, the mileage and other similar cars that are up for sale now. This is way more important than you think it is, because I don't have to spend 10 minutes researching a car, looking through Facebook and Auto Trader to try and find out how much it's going to sell for, and spending 10 minutes to try and see if it's a good price on every car will lose your deals, because there's so many traders looking for cars, so you have to be the first one to message. For example, on this Renault Twingo, I messaged after about 5 minutes of the ad going live, and the seller said it's really busy so I have to come soon, meaning if I didn't get a notification this car was for sale, I wouldn't have been the first person to message them. It's also got an AI evaluation to predict profit by reading the description and giving you a best and worst case scenario for repair costs. It's also got this AI picks mode, which is super handy because it shows you only the best deals. And it's not just for cars, you can use it to flip phones, sofas, literally anything. And SWOOPA is offering a 7-day free trial to you guys by clicking the link in the description, so you can go out and buy a bargain this weekend and make yourself an extra £1,000. Download it today. Now, it's time to try and figure out these brake lines. But after getting underneath, I'm not so sure it would have been a good idea to sand these down and paint them, because there was a few bits where they were actually quite rusty. And I was worried because I've taken brake lines off before and these nuts get seized solid. So I made sure to douse them in WD-40 before trying to take them off. And amazingly, I was genuinely shocked at how easy these are coming out. So with one side of it unbolted and removed, I honestly can't believe how easy that went, but now that's out onto the other side, which I think won't be as easy. Oh my god. But I couldn't have been more wrong, because the other side of this brake pipe just unbolted super easy as well. So with the end of that unthreaded, I could just pull the pipe out of its plastic mounting points, get it out of the car, and then begin making my first ever brake line from scratch. And not only do I have to recreate this shape with the new pipe, but I also have to recreate these flared ends, which is something I've never done before. So I started off by getting the new pipe next to the old one and then using different size sockets to bend the copper pipe over to mimic the bends on the old pipe. And now, like I say, this is the first time I've ever done this, so I don't want to be giving too much advice, but this socket system worked really well, and just threading them both through your hands gave me a pretty accurate shape on the new pipe. So once I'd bent that into shape, it was time to use my brand new Tang Tools flaring kit to recreate those flared ends, which is what creates a tight seal that doesn't leak on the end of the pipe to connect it to the pipe that's already on the car. But the first thing to do was use this tool to cut it to shape, leaving it a little bit longer than I needed so that if I messed up these flares, I could redo it again. And I bought some brand new unions which just slide onto the new pipe, and then after sanding the end of the pipe to make sure that it's all smooth, I got this clamp out of the set and put the pipe into the corresponding size before sliding in this black piece that fits inside the pipe and clamping that down all of the way until you can take it all off, and somehow magically you're left with this flared end, and mine looks exactly like the one that came off the car, so I'm really happy with that. And once I'd done the other side, it was time to test fit it inside the car, and fingers crossed, hope for no leaks. Now, getting it into the car and in the right place, I wasn't too worried about it, because I could see that it was really similar to the old pipe. Now that I'm threading it into the drum, it went in fine, but we won't be able to see if it leaks until I start bleeding the brakes, and that is pretty scary. But I can't just sit and worry about it. I finished off connecting the pipe to the other side and cleaned all the brake fluid that dripped out when I undid them, and I was done. Or at least I thought I was. Of course I forgot something. This needs to go on the line. Brilliant. I guess at least I haven't bled the brakes yet. I'm going to nip this on quickly. After fitting that, I'm just hoping that's the only mistake I've made with these brake lines, because I don't want to do the whole thing over again. So Ryan helped me out, pressing the brake pedal to pump up some pressure, and then I released the bleed nipple, releasing hopefully all the air in the system. And after doing that until I couldn't see any more bubbles come out, I couldn't find any leaks anywhere. So I'm happy that's a job done. The next thing to do is try and clean up these front calipers and then get it back to the MOT. Hopefully get a quick pass, clean it, sell it, make some profit. But with it failing for the brakes being imbalanced, I was worried I wouldn't see which one is worse. But after looking at the discs, you can clearly see this is the one that's not getting full contact around the disc. So I've never seen one of these tools before, but it's a little plastic locking wheel nut which lets you remove this plastic cap covering all the bolts, and after cracking those off with the tyre on the floor, I could jack it up, get the wheel off, and start tearing down this brake caliper to clean it up and grease it up again. Now I'm hoping just between rust and old brake dust, it's blocked up the pads and the caliper so much that it's just not free to move anymore, which is why the brakes aren't working on both sides. So fingers crossed, once I've cleaned all this up and greased it back up with some dedicated brake glue, I'll put it back together and the brakes will start working. But there is a fairly high chance that once I've put it all back together, it still doesn't work and it needs a brand new caliper, which means all this time is just wasted. Right then, now it's all back together again, I'm taking it for a drive. I'm going to use the brakes as hard as I can and have another look to see if those rusted marks have cleared up, and if they have, I'm hoping that that's sorted the weak caliper problem out and we can get a pass on the MOT. I've literally just used the brakes. Instantly they feel so much better, they feel a lot tighter, they got a lot more bite to them. I'm nervous to say, but I think it's fixed and I think we'll get a pass on the MOT, fingers crossed. And we've done it, we've got a pass on the MOT with 2 advisories, and those 2 advisories are for these wheels where it's hit a curb or a pothole or something and it's bent the wheel a little bit. It still holds air, there's no vibration, so it's absolutely fine in my opinion. So it's time to clean this car up and list it for sale. No indicator, mate, that's So cleaning, I always start with the wheels, and if you're a subscriber, you'll be sick of me saying this, but I did used to run a mobile detailing business, so I did actually spend years testing out products and finding out what's best value for money. And look at these wheels before and after, there is a huge difference, and this wheel cleaner has just destroyed all of that brake dust. So all the links to the products I use will be in the description. And if you haven't seen my videos before, I hate to say it, but please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you won't miss any of my new videos, and I've got some really exciting projects coming. But on this one, next up is snow foaming, and this breaks up all the big bits of dirt on the paintwork so that you're not scrubbing it in when you do a contact wash. And at this point, I get a really soft bristle brush and clean the fuel cap and all the gaps between the windows and the doors and between logos and bits that you can't get with a wash mitt. And you can see how much dirt this takes out, and this is a massive difference when someone comes to view the car and it's clean in all the areas that don't normally get cleaned. It looks way more looked after, and it makes it seem like it's worth more money. So with that all rinsed off, I can finally start the contact wash safely without worrying about rubbing debris into the paintwork. And again, it's super important to get a really soft microfiber, especially on black cars, because they do create micro scratches, which just makes it look really bad. But with all the dirt pressure washed off now, the last bit of this stage is making sure to open the doors and get those door sills, because again, when someone comes to open the door and all this is perfectly clean, it's a big difference from your average car for sale on Facebook Marketplace. And already this car is looking fantastic, and I'm sure it's going to add a load of money onto my pot for my dream BMW build. But there's a couple more quick steps to do to get the most out of this. So after drying off the whole car to make sure it gets no water spots, it's hard to see on camera, but there's a load of black dots and spots on the paintwork, which I'm going to remove with a clay mitt. So all I need to do is lubricate it with some clay lube and then rub the mitt up and down on the paintwork until the scratchy sound is gone and it sounds perfectly smooth. And through the magic of editing, I'm completely finished with that, and it's the final step on the paintwork, which is this Auto Glim Super Resin Polish, which is the best way to make your car look fantastic, but it is temporary. It lasts a few months, but this fills in small scratches, and after taking the car inside because it started to rain, it also gives it a really good shine and makes it hydrophobic, so rain and dirt just bounces right off. And now it's really important to leave this on for a little bit so that it can harden up. Then I used a bit of cutting compound on these headlights. They weren't too bad, so I wasn't going to machine polish it, but after a bit of cutting compound and a really hard bit of foam, they actually came up a lot clearer, so that's a massive win. And the very final thing to do was remove this stupid sticker on the back of the car, and I didn't have my heat gun with me, so I used a blowtorch and my hand to make sure I wasn't getting the paintwork too hot. And this took absolutely ages to get rid of all of that sticker because each letter was its own sticker, but eventually I got it all off and it left a load of residue. So I used that clay mitt to get all of that residue off, and I managed to remove it all completely. And mainly just to freshen up the inside, because it wasn't actually that bad, I decided to wet vac the floor mats to save me buying new ones, and give the seats a bit of a quick wet vac as well to give it that fresh, clean car smell. The car is finished. It looks absolutely fantastic, and we really did do very little work to this, so it was a super quick turnaround, and now it's just a case of listing it for sale and see how much profit I get to add to my BMW build budget. And after listing the car, you wouldn't believe it, but it sold in less than 24 hours. Now, the budget I've earned from flipping the Z4, the Seat Ibiza, and the BMW 3 Series gives me £3,206.37 towards my M3 estate bill. So after spending £450 on the car, £61.62 on insurance, £3.33 on tax, £31.29 on Ryan's fuel, £51.50 on a throttle body, £40 on an MOT, £20.66 on that reel of brake line, and £2.56 on unions for the brake lines, and then selling the car for £1,750, which was a little bit less than I wanted. I wanted closer to £2,000, but to get the car gone in less than a day to get the video out for you guys, I'm happy with that. And don't forget, if you want to make some profit this weekend, check out the link in the description for SWOOPA's 7-day free trial. But back to selling this Twingo. That's a profit of £1,089.44, which for 2 days work is pretty amazing if you ask me. And that means I've got £4,295 for my BMW M3 estate build. I think it's time to start building a monster.